Welcome back to the 21 Convention. I hope everybody had a great lunch. Our next speaker has been supporting the convention since 2008. He is the world's #1 pickup artist. Welcome, Adam Lyons.
Awesome. Hey guys, whew, it's good to be back. I like it in Orlando. Like, I know the 21 Convention sort of like traveled around and been sort of everywhere. Just Orlando feels like home. It's like this is where it started. Got a lot of new faces. There's so many people here that I sort of haven't seen before, which is really cool. I want to talk a little bit before I get going. I've got a pretty fun talk for you guys. We're going to be covering something. It's one of those topics that's like a staple in the pickup community. It's like everyone knows it, and yet no one actually knows how to use it or how it works. So I kind of want to just bring that up a bit and sort of explain to you a number of different ways to use this really powerful technique. But before I get into that, I kind of want to explain about, get an idea of kind of like the kind of people that we've got around us and the kind of people that you guys are. So very quickly, before I start, how many of you guys are like would consider yourself sort of like amateurs? You're like new to this, you want to get good. Just a show of hands. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's a few of you. Okay. And now, how many of you would say you're sort of quite proficient at this? You've been doing this for a while and you're pretty good. Raise your hands. So, okay, so that's much less. One guy's like, I'm not sure. I'm in between. I'm kind of, depends who you compare me with. He's like, if you compare me to someone who's really bad, I'm good. You compare me to someone who's really good, I'm bad. Okay, that's where he is. Okay, cool. First of all, I like to think about where did we come from? Why do we suck? Why were we not very good? And I've got a lot of theories about this, and we're going to be looking into that a little bit. One of the big ones is, I think I can pinpoint the exact moment my game started dropping. I came from a really interesting background, so I'm going to share this with you. I've never shared this before. It's a funny thing. In my local lair, it became like a funny thing to talk about, like Adam's background. They'd be like, when it first came out, everyone's like, oh my God, really? They're your parents? I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, man, that's crazy. My mom was a stripper, and my dad was a croupier for Playboy Casino. And so they were my parents. And everyone's like, oh my God, you came from that background, you needed to learn games, like you're the one. You're bringing foundation, pulling it all together and showing everybody how it should be done. You learned the game and you went back to where it was. And I'm pretty sure I would have been a natural. I'm pretty sure a long time ago, I think I would have been a natural. But I know when it happened. I can exactly pinpoint what happened. There I am, going out at school, hanging out with all of my classmates at school, sort of like little Adam. And as I'm hanging out there, I see this girl and we start flirting. Now, this is like, 8-year-old flirting or whatever. It's not real flirting. It's kind of like you look at each other, you smile at each other, she smiles at you, you giggle, you look away from each other. It's that kind of like silly little flirting, We were before the stage of handing each other notes in class, and probably just before the stage of telling our friends to tell the other one we liked each other, but we'd gone past the point where we hated each other and we're hitting each other. It was like that kind of stage. And so I'm there, and I finally get the courage to go up to this girl and sort of tell her what I think about her, tell her that I like her. And there's like little old me, maybe I was 9, 10, whatever, but I was only little. And I go up to her and I'm like, hey, I just want to say, like, I really like you, and I wonder if you want to go to the school dance. And all her friends are with her. And they look at me and they go, no, she wouldn't want to go and dance. Why would she want to dance with you? She's much better than you are. And that was the start of the end of my ability to observe what was going on. Because what happens is, I learned that when a girl is attracted to me, when a girl is showing me a sign of interest, actually it means she doesn't want me. And that takes shape in the rest of my life. So you can now fast forward 15 years from that point, and now I'm sort of like, 23, and I see a girl in a bar, and she looks at me and she smiles, and she looks away, and I learn, oh, she's waiting to let me down. She's gonna, make me look bad. She's gonna make a fool of me. I better not talk to her. That's what I learned. That was like my process of growing up. And then it took coming to game to realize that actually that isn't necessarily true. What happened in the past was she had bad friends. There were social groups going on. Her friends were jealous or whatever the reason was. But that literally was one of about 1,000 things that stopped me from potentially being the natural I may have been able to be. And my argument about game, I don't think, everyone's like naturals, not naturals. I don't think there's such a thing as a natural. I think we're all naturals. I think inside every single one of you, you have the ability to be good. Just get an idea. Who here agrees with that? Who here thinks actually inside them raise your hands high so I can see. That's like the whole room, right? Every single one of us does believe that. And like, this is a really big point. And I hate the guys that are sort of like, I studied this natural or whatever, or this natural is really good. No, we're all good. Just some of us have different problems in our past. We have issues, and we don't see things necessarily the way they should be seen. Perception is a very important part of reality. It's a very important part of game. Today, I'm going to be teaching you a little bit of voodoo mumbo-jumbo stuff. I'm going to show you how to fuck with reality a little bit. So I want you guys to pay attention to what's going on, not just what I'm saying, but the way I'm saying it. Because we're going to be revisiting some of what I'm talking about and showing you that actually what's going on up here might be a little bit more than meets the eye. And there'll be people that don't see it. There'll be people that are like, no, there's nothing going on there. But they're just not really focusing on actually what's going on behind the words in the subtle sub-communication. If you think about it, the majority of communication isn't done by the actual words. It's done by the subtle non-verbal communication that we use. And I'm going to start getting you guys to maybe wake up to some of the verbal sub-communication we use. Not the non-verbal stuff, but the verbal sub-communication, which is also going on. So we're going to be revisiting that. It's going to get a bit complicated, but try and bear with me. I hope you guys understand. Before I go on, just out of interest, obviously we've spoken about guys that are shy and sort of like a little bit unconfident, which is definitely where I was. Standing up on stage was something that was always going to be scary for me. I always liked the idea of being up on stage. I remember as a kid, I wanted to sort of like do public speaking, but I was always scared of doing it. And I forced myself to do public speaking classes as a kid. And so I'd get up there on stage. I remember being really scared, and it was only the more I did it, the better I got at it. And games, the same thing. When I first came up with the idea of doing game, it was very scary. The idea of talking to someone I've never met before, talking to a girl, that's a very scary process. And yet, the more I did it, the easier it got. So, again, just a question. How many of you here are scared of approaching still? How many of you is that a problem for? Raise your hand. That's a very small number, right? There's a few of you guys. Some of you are still scared. Okay. The more you do it, that lessens, but it never really goes away. As a complete separate thing, how many of you would be okay coming up on stage? How many of you would be scared about the concept of coming up on stage and giving a public speaking talk? Raise your hand if the idea of standing up on stage scares you. Just no one. That's awesome. Oh, wait. No, now everyone's hands are going up. So 1, 2. Anyone else? Raise your hands high, guys. So just going to see. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, right. All right, cool. All right, so just to get an idea. Cool. So what's really fascinating is a lot of you guys would be a lot more comfortable coming up on stage than you would actually going out and meeting girls and talking to girls, which is ironic because one of the biggest fears that people tend to have is actually public speaking and going up on stage. So all of these things you can get rid of by practice. The more you do something, the better you get. But being armed with the correct tools for practice helps. You guys see what I'm saying there? Having the correct tool when you go out and practice ensures that you've got a much higher success rate than if you went out there alone. You know, imagine going to fight a war and someone said, all right, son, are you ready? Here's your little pea shooter here, your catapult. You're going to go with that. Everyone else has got AK-47s. But you've got good spirit, good heart. I believe in you. No, they're setting you up for failure. If you've got the right tools before you go out there, you've got a good chance of success. Now, having said that, the situations that you're going to be meeting, they don't require actual physical tools. They require verbal tools. And so during this talk, we're going to be talking about the power of qualification and how qualification can actually empower you in a number of different situations to bypass situations and problems that you may be having, and also how to use it to kind of like refine the work that you're doing. Now, to start off with, I'm going to tell you guys a story about one of my students. We're going back about a year or so now, and I was working with this private client, and I wanted him to get laid. It was like, Adam was working with this guy for one night. He'd been working with about 5 or 6 of my other instructors over the period of like a week. And it was like, finally, it was Adam's turn. I was like, you know what? I'm going to shut up all of my instructors. I'm going to do everything I can to get this guy laid. So we're out at night. We're talking to some people. And he gets talking to this girl. And him and the girl are hitting it off. They're getting on really, really well. And I start thinking, all right, I need to do something that's going to help get these guys together, something that's going to make it happen. I think I could pull him out and give him some game advice. But pulling him out could be a problem. Because if I pull him out, that interaction's going to lower. And then he's got to get back in again and build it up again. That could be hard. So I don't want to do that. So I want to affect his game. I want to get him a good chance of actually taking this girl home without interrupting what's going on. A little bit difficult, right? Not an easy thing, especially as an instructor. These are the problems that we kind of have to think about. So I work it out, and I've got a foolproof way. I know exactly how he's going to get her home. So I go to him, oh, dude, do you mind if I just borrow your phone for a second? I think mine's having an issue with signal, and I just want to make a quick phone call. So he's like, yeah, no problem. Gives me the phone, I walk away. This is the genius. I take the battery out of his phone. Put the phone back together, give him back his phone. I've got his battery in my pocket. And I'm like, this is pure genius. At that point, I say to the girl, hey, just so you know, this guy doesn't know where we live, which is true. He didn't know the address of the place he was staying at because we always picked him up and brought him home. So I was like, I know he's been drinking and the two of you are having a lot of fun. Do me a favor. I was like, make sure he gets home. My address is in the street, and you just go, no. So if you just get him home there, that would be great. And if he's got any problems, just tell him to phone me. I'll see you guys later. And off I go. And I'm like, this is pure genius, right? I was congratulating myself the whole night. I was like, there is no way this guy is not going to get laid. I was like, it's the girl's pressure to take him home, right? She's got the pressure on her. I gave her the responsibility. And I know his phone doesn't work. And she hasn't got my number. He has no way of getting in contact with me, no way of getting back to me. He has to go home with her. I was like, they're flirting, they're talking to each other. All his logistics are handled. I did a previous talk about logistics, if any of you guys are wondering about logistics. All his logistics are handled. This is done. This guy's getting laid, no problem. So I sit back, I go home, I have a drink. And I'm like, yeah, this is like the easiest thing in the world. There's no problem whatsoever. The next day he turns up at 11 o'clock in the morning. And I go, who gets you laid? And he goes, I didn't get laid. I'm like, what? How did you not? How in that situation did you not? You're flirting with each other, you're kissing, you go back to her place, dude. He goes, dude, it went bad, man. I'm like, how? How can you can't mess that up. I was like, you have to want to mess that up. He goes, no, dude, believe me, I tried. I was like, all right, well, what happened? He goes, well, it all went sour when we got in the front door. He goes, we couldn't remember where you lived, so she took me back to her place. I'm like, of course, it's exactly what was supposed to happen. He's like, yeah, but man, she's got this dog. I'm like, what do you mean she's got a dog? He goes, no, it's like the biggest dog you've ever seen, man. It's like a Great Dane. And it doesn't like people. He goes, I get in and the dog attacked me. He goes, this dog just dragged me down to the ground. It started biting my arm and shit. And I'm bleeding on the floor. And this woman's over me. She's like, oh my God. And she's trying to pull the dog off me. And the dog's going at it. So I lock myself in the bathroom. And I'm scrambling around trying to find bandages and stuff. And there's all this medication, dude. I don't know what kind of shit she was on, but it was bad. And then she's like, let me in. So I'm like, okay, she lets me in. She locks the dog outside. She bandages me up. And I was like, dude, but you couldn't swing that to her. I mean, all right, you're bleeding, but dude, think about it. That's a good advantage. You've got sympathy there. He goes, yeah, man, but then things just got awkward. I'm like, well, how? How did it get awkward? He goes, I mean, her husband, dude. I'm like, her husband? He's like, yeah, man, her husband was there. I was like, oh, dude. She doesn't have a wedding ring, though. I was like, I checked. He goes, no, they're separated. Not divorced, but separated. I'm like, oh. Well, why was that a problem? Well, because you still lived there. Oh, that's awkward. Do they sleep in separate rooms? He goes, yeah. Actually, he was a really cool guy. We got on really well. He's like, so he just slept in the other room, and I went back to her room. I'm like, dude, you went back to her bedroom? How did you mess this up? He goes, did I tell you she's a lesbian? How is she a lesbian now? And he goes, that's why they broke up. She's a lesbian. She's got a girlfriend. And I was like, was her girlfriend in the room? And he's like, no. And I was like, oh, there you go then. I was like, no problem. I was like, I met lots of lesbians before. I said, don't worry about it. I was like, at the end of the day, you're in bed with her alone. The dog's outside. The husband's in the other room. Dude, this is all you have to do is just have to escalate. He goes, I didn't need to. What do you mean you didn't need to escalate? He goes, she was escalating. How did you not get laid? You're lying in bed with this girl. She's escalating. What was she doing? I don't know. She was trying to give me a blowjob. Did you get the blowjob? No, I pushed her off. Why? Why would you push her off? I didn't feel comfortable. Why did you not feel comfortable? Well, her 5-year-old daughter was lying next to us. So, brings us to the power of qualification. What did this guy do wrong? What did I do wrong? I didn't qualify the situation properly. I did what I think most good PUAs would do. We analyze the situation, we make a call. The call was she wasn't married, they were flirting with each other, they liked each other, she was there alone. It makes sense. Fine, no problem. But in reality, there were a number of other issues that were there that weren't brought up. We didn't discuss the logistics. We didn't analyze what was happening. This is where qualification comes into play. And it's one of the biggest things that PUAs don't do. You know why? Because we think with our penis, okay? All of us, that's especially as men, that's what we do. It's like you got two brains, the smaller one's the more powerful of the two. Once it kicks in, that's it. For all the girls in the room, and for all the girls that watch these videos, I want to help you out. I learned this the other day. It's a really powerful way. If you want to understand the mentality of a man, for about 4 days, 5 days out of a month, a woman gets incredibly horny, okay? I'm looking straight at a girl here, and she's like, yes. Everyone can just confirm, yeah, right? Bam. Right? And they go crazy. Like, all they can think about is sex. Someone was just telling me they watched a documentary about Musk. It was Nick was talking about like women get aroused to men's musk at a certain period of the month, whatever. They get incredibly horny for about 5 days. All they can think about is sex. Girls just want to get laid. They just want to have sex. That's what they want to do. Multiply that and fill it up for a whole month. That's a man. Gives you an idea? That's us constantly. We are always like that. That little weird period where you go crazy and you go, I just want to party. Just want to go out and get drunk. It's going to be so much fun. All for a month, every day. That's a man. That's the difference between us and them. And so, we are led by our loins. They do dictate a lot of what goes on. And because of that, guys don't always make the best decisions. When we're talking to a girl, we don't think things through correctly. And when you first join game, when you first want to learn game, the way it typically works is people are just like, she's hot, I want to get her. Qualification refines that a bit. And by refining it, it actually helps us get what we want. The definition of qualification, I've got it written down here. It's essentially assessing whether a person is a potential fit for a product or service or something you have. So if we think about qualification from the idea of like you go to college, you get qualified, you're becoming qualified. You're becoming qualified to do a particular task. A doctor is qualified to do surgery, providing that's the kind of doctorate they take. You guys with me so far? You are becoming qualified. The act of qualifying is finding out whether somebody is the right fit for you. And it's an incredibly important part of the process. Just at that level, qualification essentially lets us be choosy. And if we're choosy, we're in a position of power because we're making the choice. You guys with this so far? So I said it's going to get a little bit technical, but it's a very powerful way of thinking about it. Now, I'm going to give you a bit of layman's terms that can maybe make this whole process easier. Think of qualification like filtering, all right? We are filtering shit. If you think of it like that, you'll be fine. Essentially, when it comes to surgery, you want to filter out the people that don't have medical doctorates. They are not the people you want performing surgery. So qualification at that point removes people from me becoming surgeons. That's the whole point. You do not want me in the room chatting up the nurse while there's some guy having some kind of heart attack. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what the fuck to do, but I am free tomorrow night. That's not going to help him survive. It's not useful for this guy. So you have a filtering process. So throughout this talk, we're going to talk about a number of different ways to use qualification. The first thing we're going to look about is how to use qualification to build good conversation. In that instance, we're filtering out bad conversation. You with it? When you're talking to a girl, you can have a good conversation or a bad conversation. We're going to use qualification to remove the bad stuff. We don't want to have a bad conversation, we want to have a good one. And we're going to qualify that to make that happen. That's going to help all those of you that struggle with getting into a conversation and getting it flowing. Then we're going to dabble in something a little bit dark. A lot of people don't really realize how long I've been studying this or doing this. I've been doing this for a very long time. And I've learned all different aspects of game. And some of the stuff I've learned is a little bit darker. It's not the kind of like funny, fluffy stuff that you sort of like, you're okay telling people about. It's the other stuff that's a little bit more manipulative and a little bit more powerful. And I'm gonna touch that today. I'm gonna show you guys some of that, maybe open you up a little bit to just how powerful this stuff can be. And then finally, and in that point, what we're actually filtering out is we're filtering out behavior. So we're actually going to filter out behavior we don't want in favor of behavior we do want. And then lastly, the final piece of the puzzle is we're going to be filtering out people. Essentially, we're going to be identifying and filtering out people that we don't want in favor of people that we do. And these are the three things that I'm going to be taking you guys throughout today. So it was Davis in 1973, the psychologist, identified that people have qualifiers. And we use these qualifiers to ascertain whether we want to start relations with somebody. So essentially, you'd look at somebody, and you've all got your own qualifiers. We'd be like, you know what? This chick's blonde, she's got big breasts, and she looks like she's easy. She has all the qualifiers I want. Or this chick's a librarian, she has glasses, and she's got a sexy butt, she's got everything I want. That's what he's saying that we do. And I think what's maybe missing that is a lot of people don't do that. I think actually a lot of people that are maybe a little bit more keen to have things start faster. I don't want to use the word desperate, but desperate. I think those kind of people are willing to drop their own qualifiers in favor of just having some kind of a connection. And throughout this talk, I want to show you guys how to bring that back and still increase your success rate. So I rein it in and still have some kind of success. So let's look at somebody that might. Wait, no. First of all, what kind of qualifiers do you think we look for when it comes to girls? What kind of thing do you think that maybe we look for? Anyone want to have a guess before this guy first?
Has passions.
Has passions. Someone that has passions. Would you be fair to say that everyone has passions?
Well, I mean, based on some of my conversations, I would beg to differ, you know?
Okay, so here's a really funny one, right? And this is what I like. We're talking about finding bad conversation. You're like, according to my conversations, I've met people that don't have passions, right?
But they don't know them.
They don't know them, or maybe they're just not telling them to you. This is where qualification is so powerful. We make an assumption. Oh, this person doesn't have a passion, but do they? Did we just not find it? These are all really important things. You see how you can get very specific here, and that's what we're going to look at. That's what we're going to do. We're going to get specific. We're going to find out, what are these things? What are these kind of things that we're looking for? Somebody else want to have a quick guess? Maybe to qualify, go for it. This guy here.
Cute smile.
Cute smile. Someone's got a cute smile. Like, I need to go with a cute smile. I get that. It's a qualifier. It's something that might do. This guy's well, because his hand's up. Last one.
Someone who has a personality that you enjoy, something that's pleasant, someone who has a demeanor that you enjoy, being around not someone who's annoying or negative.
Perfect. So an actual personality that you can get on with. And we can, now one of the things I want to get you guys to do is maybe refine that further over time. We're not necessarily going to do it in this talk. Maybe think, what about someone's personality? You said one of the key things, which was negative. Someone isn't negative. That's a definite personality trait you can filter out. So these are the kind of things. But now, qualification's kind of funny. So what we're going to do is we're going to imagine a car salesman. Car salesmen, they have to qualify their customers. Okay, they spend it a lot. And in fact, any of you guys done sales? Raise your hand if you've done sales. Awesome. Almost everybody here. Brilliant. When it comes to sales, we do, as a salesperson, you qualify for sales. You don't want to spend an hour talking to somebody only to find out that in 6 years' time, they're planning on getting a job and buying a car. You know, if you're selling a car, you want to know right away, is this person going to buy? But what do you think our car salesman's likelihood of making a sale is if he goes up to every single person and says, you know, so are you looking to buy a car right now? Or, hi, which kind of car are you looking to buy now? If he puts all that pressure straight away, a lot of people are going to be turned off by that. Have you guys ever had that? Someone comes up to you, hi, how can I help you? Fuck off. You can't. You can help me by just going over there and not speaking to me. Yeah? Whereas the real key to being a good salesman is to actually sort of like get in under the radar and work it up. Let's bring that back to pickup. How many of you would be worried if you were dating a girl? How many of you are in relationships? Let's get to know you guys. A couple of you guys, not many. Okay, good. So how many of you, those that are in relationships and those that have been in relationships, how many of you would be scared if you came back to your girlfriend after going to the restroom and you found some guy in the middle of a talk with her and he goes, so you're cute, do you want to have sex? How many of you would be threatened by that? Raise your hand if that would threaten you, seeing that. A couple, but not many. All right, so not really. That's not really. How about if you came back from that restroom and that guy was in deep conversation with your girlfriend? Raise your hand now if you would be scared. It's a bit scarier, isn't it? It's like some guy going straight up to her, being all direct and sort of like making it clear what he wants. She's in a relationship. That's a bit too fast. It's a little bit too much. That's not as scary. Now, it would be scary if she sort of jumped on board on that. Then, yeah, you're in trouble. If she's sort of like, yes, I would. Please take me away from this loser. All right, that's scary. But in general, we know that the chance of that working aren't going to be that high if she's in a committed relationship. On the other hand, if he's in this deep conversation, you got a little bit of trouble going on. So the salesman, he knows that. He has to work things up. When he's qualifying, he's starting off small and he's building it up. He's slowly talking to the person, getting to know them, getting in there. And he might, rather than going straight, are you looking to buy a car? He might sort of like find out other things. Oh, what brings you here today? I'm just looking, I'm just having a look. Okay, great. Well, if you need anything, let me know. What brings you here today? Our car broke down and we're looking for a replacement. Bam. It's the kind of thing he's looking for, yeah? He's not going to come straight out there and be like, you know, which car are you going to, or what credit card are you using to pay for your car today? It's not going to work. It's too high. However, there is a type of person that can get away with doing that. And it's very important that we know that just because the car salesman can't doesn't mean we can't. An employer. You're applying for a job. Is it okay for the employer to say to you, what makes you think you'd be good to work here? Is that okay? Let's get some voices. Yeah, that's okay, right? That's okay because the employer has status. He has power. He's got some kind of actual control that allows him to do those things. And in fact, Kenrick in 1994 discovered that women are much more likely to cheat providing the person that they're going to cheat with has status. That's scary, right? They actually found that looks don't really matter. You can get some male model who can come straight up to your girlfriend and try and pick her up. He doesn't have that much chance. But someone with status, someone who's actually important, someone with power, they can. They can get away with doing more. Women allow that. From a point of view of qualification, the higher status somebody has in your life, the heavier they can qualify you. And the lower status, the lower they can qualify you. So we spoke earlier about identifying the kind of guys in this room and who we've got. Now, we've got some guys. I'm guessing you've got guys in here with a bunch of different problems. First of all, before we start, who has no problems whatsoever with game? Who is like just hanging out, their friend got them a ticket and they're good, or they're a speaker? Raise your hand if you have no problems whatsoever. I just want to get an idea on that. Go for it. If you are good with game. Okay, so it's like just a couple of you guys. Awesome. So the rest of you, there's some kind of problem. There's something you want to improve on. And I'm going to argue most of you are going to fit in one or two categories. Either one, you can't get into a conversation. Maybe you can't get it started. Maybe it starts and it ends straight away. Maybe it just doesn't work. But for whatever reason, you can't get into it. For the other half of you, you get in, it doesn't go the way you want. Or maybe it doesn't always go the way you want. Or maybe you're just not in control of it. Does that sound about right to everybody? Does that sound, these are like the two. This is mostly it. This is your mid-game problem. This is your typical mid-game problem. This is the issues you have right in the middle. It's sort of like the first part of the middle, which is I've got a conversation started, or I kind of know how I should. You know, one of the biggest reasons guys have approach anxiety? On every boot camp, I analyze all my students to try and work out what the problems are, and I quiz them. Do you know the number one reason why people don't approach? Do you know what it is? Anyone want to guess? Don't know what to say next. Not to start, they don't know what to say next. Because they'll be like, I don't know what to say. I'll be like, ask where Starbucks is. What do I say after that? It's not the first thing, it's the second and onwards. That's what they're worried about. Most people aren't scared of approaching. They're scared of approaching and not knowing what to say. So we're going to look at that first, and then we're going to deal with, once you've got the conversation going, where to take it. All right. What's always funny to me about game is guys are like, girls don't really talk. Girls don't really actually have conversation. They never really talk to us. For those of you guys that have been in a relationship, I think you can back me up here. Try getting a girl to shut the fuck up. Now that's hard, yeah? Getting girls to not speak. Outside of the pickup community, there's jokes that women don't stop talking. You guys may have heard of these things, like jokes. Like people do it all the time. They're like, man, you know, my wife won't shut up unless I hit her a couple of times around the head with a frying pan. There's like those kind of jokes exist in the world. Like, because women don't stop talking. They don't. They're good at it. They're naturally good. They gossip. They talk to each other. It's like part of life for a girl. Yet in the pickup community, we're like, girls never speak. Man, I talk to this girl. I'm just speaking all the time. What you're looking for here is a conversation she wants to talk about. I'm telling you right now, my friend is dating this girl. She is super cute. She's blonde. She's about yay high. She's got nice breasts. She doesn't wear much clothing. She's super cute. But boy, that girl can talk, eh? Like, literally, we'll be hanging out, and she'll just go at it from the minute she wakes up until the end of the day. Sometimes you just want to stick your dick in her mouth. Not for sexual pleasure, but to shut her the fuck up. It's like, I was with my wife the other day. I was like, you know what? I'd love to stick my dick in that girl's mouth. My wife was like, why? I was like, to shut her up. All she does is talk. I was like, my friend is obviously not having sex with her enough. Like, she needs to be so tired out that she doesn't speak. It's an issue. Like, girls speak a lot, all the time. But the key is to get them to talk. Girls will talk when you're in a conversation they want to talk about, man. When they're happy with the conversation, that's the key. So when you're talking to a girl, as fast as possible, your goal has to be to get that conversation going to a topic, not where you want it to go, but where she's going to be happy talking. So that girl that had no passion, dude, you may have found a girl that had no passion. I'm not going to say you didn't. However, there's a really good chance you just didn't find something she was passionate about. I'll give you an idea. I used to do a lot of hardcore nightclub parties, a lot of them in London. And I'd hang out with these girls all the time, and you'd get guys that would be like, man, these girls, they've got nothing to talk about. They're like thick as shit. There's nothing going on up there. I was like, dude, they can talk forever, but you've got to find the right subject. Those girls want to talk about relationships. They want to talk about partying. They want to talk about having sex. They want to talk about drinking. They want to talk about extracurricular activities. That's what they want to talk about. That's what's big to them in their life. Maybe celebrity gossip, but that's about it. So what you've got to do is learn how to isolate it. Now, the real key to this is finding qualifying questions that help you ascertain what a girl wants to talk about. So I'm going to give you guys a couple of examples. These aren't to use, these are to learn what the examples are, okay? So I'm not suggesting these are routines. Rather, I'm suggesting you look at the makeup of the sentence and pull out the important parts. So let's start. The first thing that we're looking at, hey, you know what? What's your favorite place to eat in Orlando? Favorite place to eat in Orlando. What's the key word there? What's the one word that we're looking at, guys? Favorite. That's the killer. Favorite. Bam. Once we find out the favorite place, we've got an in. We're like, all right, this is a place that we know she really enjoys. Or, where's your favorite place in the world? Or, hey, what do you enjoy doing on the weekends? Enjoy. Favorite. These are the qualifiers. These are the powerful parts of the sentence. Your sentence can be pretty much whatever you want, providing you're adding these elements. What is your favorite? What do you enjoy? What do you like doing the most? Every time you're hitting on these things, you know the response is going to be something they like talking about, rather than something you direct. One of the biggest mistakes I get guys make is they try and control the conversation and take it where they want it to go, rather than have that conversation go on to things that the girl wants to talk about. So a guy will make a point. He'll make a really key point. He'll be like, you know what? What I want to talk about is, I want to talk about sex, because that's where I want the conversation to go. So he'll start meeting a girl, and he'll be like, hey, so, how often do you think it's good to have sex? Or, me and my friends were talking the other day, what do you think the likelihood is that a girl has sex on a first date? Some crap thing that they want to talk about, some routine they found. And yet, if the girl doesn't want to talk about sex at that moment, the conversation ain't going to go anywhere. Yeah, there's a really good chance that you could get the conversation on sex if you could just get her to open up and talk to you in general. So that's the first thing that we're looking at. We're looking at qualifying the conversation. If you control the conversation like that, if you use that to qualify the conversation, to move it onto topics that you want to talk about, that the girl wants to talk about, then you can shape it and make it go roughly where you want it to go. Now the next bit. This is where stuff gets a little bit darker. I want you guys to imagine a situation. You got two identical twins. One of these twins, a little bit of a skank. She's been around the block. She's had sex with a lot of people. She's in and out of the STD clinic. She's got one of those punch cards they give you if you keep going there over and over again. You get a free visit. On the other hand, the other girl's a little bit homely. She's a little bit loving. Do me a favor. All of you that would rather have the homely, loving one, give me a hoorah. Hoorah. All right. That's pretty good. I like that. It's one of the things about the 21 Convention. You guys get involved. Let's hear it again. Let's have another hoorah. Hoorah. Awesome. And one more. It's the biggest one you can do. Hoorah. Beautiful. Love that. It's great. Okay, now, how many of you guys think of yourselves as fun and spontaneous? Just like you like to think that I'm a person that can be fun and spontaneous. Raise your hand if you think that's you. Give it a go. Awesome. Okay. What I'm going to do is this guy. What was your name, sorry, dude? David. Do me a favor, dude. Just come up here just for 1 second. Thanks, man. Guys, round of applause for David here. Hoorah! Awesome, dude. Good to meet you. How you doing? You good?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Where are you from?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Awesome. It's badass. Okay, do me a favor. What we need to do is, first of all, you can take your hands like this and raise them up. Awesome. It's pretty impressive. Next thing you can do, take your thumbs like this, and you sort of like do like a Fonzie look. All right. Now you're going to just stick them to your armpits just here. Perfect. And just do the funky chicken with me. Go for it. Go for it. Just brilliant. Guys, round of applause for this guy. Woo! Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks very much, guys. Thank you, David. Okay, that was all random, wasn't it? That was all weird. Why did we do that? It was all crazy. We did that very specifically because at the beginning of this talk, I asked you guys, who here is shy? Who here would not like to come up on stage and talk to people? David was one of the ones that put his hand up. One of the very few that said, I wouldn't want to do that. That's not something that I'd want to do. And yet here he was, not just standing on the stage, he did the funky chicken. Me and David here, we both did the funky chicken. Is that impressive? Adam got some random dude to come up on stage and do the funky chicken. David, you don't have to answer this, but this morning when you woke up and you had your breakfast, I'm guessing you didn't think, I'm going to be going up on stage later and doing the funky chicken. That's what I'm going to do. I can't wait. And in fact, when I said, who wants to come up here and who would want to stand up here, you were like, no, I am not that person. I don't want to do that. And yet, by the end of the day, here you were standing up on stage doing the funky chicken. What went on? That whole sequence of events was using qualification to manipulate social situations. I used it in 3 different occasions, and on all 3 occasions, showed you guys how it could work, specifically so that we can reflect back on it and look at what happened. The first thing, of course, was the identical twins. They're identical. They look exactly the same. The only difference in that situation that separates the warm, loving one from the girl that's a bit of a skank is my story. I said that one of them was a skank and the other one was warm and loving. And you guys all together were like, yeah, we'll have the warm and loving one. How do you know? How many of you in the room were thinking, I'd want to find out for myself? How many of you went through that thought process? How many of you were like, consciously thought, I wouldn't take your word for it, dude. I'd want to find out myself. I'd want to analyze that. That's your subconscious mind. When you're running game, that's the thing you want to be talking to. You don't want to talk to a girl's verbals. You don't want to talk to her face and the shit she says. You want to be talking to the subconscious mind. You want to be playing with the subconscious mind faster and more efficiently than she's capable of thinking herself. At that level, you're running stuff. You're making things happen the way you want it to. So, with regards to that little story, just by adding a few little elements, we change the story. There's a very famous psychology experiment that was based on observation, where they showed a getaway. I'm never going to forget because I fell for this one. You watch this whole bank heist, and at the end of it, you get asked the question, how fast was the car speeding away from the crime? And I was like, 50 miles an hour? And then you watch the video back, and the car rolls at like 5 miles an hour. And yet I was convinced, in my playback of the event, it was 50 miles an hour. Because they said, how fast did the car speed away from the event? Speed away. That hit a subconscious part of my brain, made me act in a completely different way than if I'd have actually tried to recall it naturally. All human beings can be affected like this. How about the hoorahs? They were kind of lame. I hate it when people are on stage and like, shout louder, everybody here. I hate that crap. But it's a really good example. It works every time. Why does it work? It works because, again, I love the way that you guys are good at shouting. Let's have another one. And you all join in. You all follow through. Using qualification again. Telling you that I like how well you yell. Telling you I like how loud you guys are. You fall in line. First of all, some of you guys do it, and some of you guys don't really do it. And then you get caught up, and you all start joining in. You fall into that qualification. How many of you at the back of your mind were like, I'm not going to fall for that. I'm going to stay quiet. In fact, each time I'm going to get quieter, because I want to. How many of you were like that? There's a few of you. I can see your faces. I know there's kind of people. Yeah. But at the end of the day, the majority of the people fall in line. And in fact, what's really funny is the guys that are sitting there being like, I'd do it the opposite, were the loudest. That's how qualification works. It gets in your head. Finally, the last thing, this guy here, Funky Chicken Guy. That's not going to be your nickname, by the way. No one call him Funky Chicken Guy. But Funky Chicken Guy. He'd said right at the very beginning of the talk, I would not want to go up on stage. I would not want to give a talk. And yet, there he was standing up there doing the Funky Chicken. But all carefully worded. If I'd have just said to him, hey, dude, come up here and do the Funky Chicken, probably wouldn't have done it. So instead, I said, raise your hand if you think yourself as fun and spontaneous. Just so you guys know, his hand went up like this. Everyone else was like, his hand was like, he still wasn't sure. So I picked him because I remembered he was from before and from here. So all I got him to do, first of all, is just stand up, come to the stage. Small little qualification hoops, tiny little things. Stand up here, raise your hands up, show us your thumbs, put them to your armpit. Step by step, guiding him through. He had no idea where he was going. Each point, his brain was dealing with the one thing in front of him, and yet, I knew this guy was going to get up and do the Funky Chicken from the minute he raised his hand and said, I don't want to go up there and talk. I knew that would be the guy. The whole thing was planned from that stage. He was playing the game so far behind, he had no hope of catching up. Welcome to the darker side of qualification. This is where you need to be. Most of the time when I'm in an interaction with a girl, people think of me as a lovable idiot. They're like, oh, Adam's fun, Adam's harmless, Adam doesn't know what he's talking about. And yet, I've got this background wealth of psychology, I'm just playing the game that far ahead. I want them to think I'm an idiot. I want them to think they're safe. I want them to think they've got nothing to worry about and they could manipulate me and do whatever they wanted at any point. Why? So that I can keep playing the game that I want. So how do you guys use this? The first thing you need to realize is human beings like being consistent. If somebody says they're going to do something, they typically tend to do it, at least within a small period of time. Within a small time frame, people stick to what they say they're going to do. Very powerful. Are you spontaneous and fun? Yes, I am. Awesome. Come up on stage. You've just confirmed that you are spontaneous and fun. The definition of spontaneous and fun is you're going to do things that keep the fun up, and you don't need to think about it, you don't need to plan it, you'll just do it. Spontaneous. Very powerful words, very powerful control there. So what we're looking at doing when we're talking to girls is pinpointing the qualifiers that we want to use. Now, this is one of the things that pains me about the community. There's like these generic terms that get thrown around and get used, and people think that like, oh, you meet a girl, tell her she's friendly. That always works, because if you tell a girl she's friendly, she'll be more friendly to you. Hey, that's great. That is one of the most basic forms of qualification. It's awesome. But if you take that and you build it up, that can be fucking powerful. What if I don't just tell a girl she's friendly? What if I use something else? What if I tell her, you know what I love about you? I love the fact you're consistent. I love the fact if you say you're going to do something, you carry it out. How about that one? That's freaking powerful. If she confirms, if she's like, I am good at that. I've now got a commitment that if she tells me she's going to do something, she's going to do it. Awesome, I love that. What could I use that for? I don't know, maybe convincing her she's going to give me a blowjob later on. All I need to do is to have a bet with her, maybe using like the 5 lies game. If we want to take it back to like crude game, I can make a bet and have her agree that if she loses, she's going to give me a blowjob. Consistency plus losing some stupid game equals blowjob. But now we can get really deep about it. Is that going to work? Probably not. But at that point, if she doesn't fulfill that, I can use that to get compliance on something else. So I can shift it. I can be, you know what, I wouldn't hold you to the blowjob. I don't know if you're going to be any good at giving it. Throw it out there. Let her rise up to that challenge. Another qualifier. I don't know if you'd be good at it. Would she be good at it? We'll see. We'll deal with that one later on. Instead, she now owes me something. I'll cash that in. You know what you owe me instead? You owe me a walk outside. Let's go outside. I want to show you the park over the road. It's pretty. That gives me isolation. Not bad, considering it's a lame old game from back in the day, mixed with a little bit of a qualification. Powerful technique. Now, in social engineering, hackers use this technique. It's known as preloading. It's the idea that you throw something out there to make something. There's some great examples about this, and I don't want to go too in-depth in it. A bit later on, I am going to give you guys some examples of some of the things that you can qualify for. But essentially, what you're doing is you're trying to make people to admit they're a certain type of thing. For example, if you want to take someone on the dance floor, you go, hey, you know what? You seem pretty fun. Are you a fun person? Yeah, I am. You got some moves as well. I'm seeing you wiggling your butt. I bet you can dance. They say, yeah, I can. And you're awesome. You know what? Let's hit the dance floor. Bam. She can dance. She's a little bit fun. Really good chance she's going to follow across on the dance floor. Again, we're thinking a few steps ahead. We're messing with that subconscious. We're gaming to the subconscious. And in real game, that's what you want to be doing. That's exactly how you want to be running your game. Now, the last part, final part that we're going to be dealing with, is identifying. Identifying the kind of people that you want to be talking to. Let's go back to our car salesman right at the very beginning. Let's imagine we've got 2 car salesmen now, and they're both in the same car parking lot. And we did this a bit earlier. One of them's just going around to people and being like, what credit card are you planning on buying your car with today? And the other one's sort of like talking to people, finding out the kind of things that they want, and finding out if they're actually going to buy before he chooses what to do. Which one of them is going to have more success? It's kind of obvious. It's the guy that's actually going to analyze it. But what about if we take another guy, someone who's constantly speaking to absolutely everybody in there, but this guy, he's talking to everybody, no matter what. Hi, so what are you looking to do today? Oh, I'm just over the road and I see the cars every day, so I just thought I'd come and look at cars. All right, let me show you a whole bunch. He's going to waste the whole day talking to some guy that's been looking at cars over the road and he's just decided to come and visit. Not necessarily going to buy anything, and yet this guy has made a commitment of wasting a whole day. So where qualification comes in once again. At this point, we want to start filtering out people that are just not worth it for us. Let's imagine you decide, let's break an analogy down to game. You guys picking up chicks, all right? Essentially, it's like, someone's like, I want to meet more women. So I'm going to go to the Pacific. The fishing equivalent would be, I'm going to go to the Pacific with a rod and a worm. And I'm going to get more fish, because there's so many fish in the Pacific, I'm bound to get one. Not necessarily the right way to go about things. You get a boat, you go straight out into the middle of the Pacific Ocean, you sit there with your little toy rod that you've bought and your tiny little maggot, and you wait. Chance of getting a fish at that point? Not very good. What kind of fish are you going to get? Who knows? That's the same as one of you guys being like, I want to get girls. I want to get girls in game. I'm going to use game and get girls. It doesn't really work that way. What's much better is if you refine it. You go to a habitat. You pinpoint a specific habitat, and you tailor your fishing to that habitat. So if, for example, you know you want to catch a salmon, you're going to go to a stream where you know there's salmon. You can use a type of bait that gets salmon. You can use a type of rod that gets salmon. You're going to refine your game specifically for fishing to get that particular fish. When it comes to game, those that are good do exactly the same thing. What we do is we refine our game. So at any given point, when I want to meet a girl, I will refine my game to meet a type of girl that I want. Now, yeah, we could just walk down the street, see a girl, go out there, get talking to her, and pick her up. Is it possible? Yeah, it's possible. But to people that are good at game, that's like a beginner's thing. That's not what top PUAs do. The best pickup artists in the world, I've hung out with almost all of them. The best guys in the world don't do that. They don't waste their time just sort of like trying to pick and mix girls they meet in a shopping mall. They're actually very refined. I'm going to share some with you guys. I'm married. Not really interested in picking up chicks right now. Doesn't bother me. I'm in a relationship. On the other hand, being a PUA, you've always got it at the back of your head, what if? What if I wanted to? What if I wanted to go out there and pick up a chick? And I know from my game that one of the most powerful parts of game is having a lifestyle that enables you to pick up the kind of girls that you want. So even though I'm married, even though I'm in a relationship, I've made sure that I maintain a lifestyle that helps me get the kind of fish that I'd want to go after. That way, if anything ever happened, if heaven forbid there was an accident and I ended up being single, I could at any point put myself in a position to pinpoint the kind of people that I want to go with. So let's give you guys an example. For those of you that have followed kind of like my progress and the kind of stuff that I do, I'm an amateur filmmaker. A few years ago, I had a dream that one day I'd make a horror film. I think I might have said it at the 21 convention. I'm pretty sure it was here that I said it. If it wasn't, it was another big speech. And I was like, I'm going to make a horror film. Well, I did make one. Made a horror film last year. I've won 2 film festivals with it so far. It's a very different position from someone who's just like a random guy walking through a shopping mall. I've got a very cool thing in my life. In fact, one could say my status when it comes to filmmaking is better than your average person that's kind of got a video camera. Now, how I could use that, if I wanted to in the future, is if I wanted to, say, pick up an actress or a dancer, I could go and talk to her, and I wouldn't just be a car salesman from coming from underneath her. I'm a someone. I'm a filmmaker with festivals that I've won. I've achieved something outside of pickup. Forget the whole pickup thing. As a filmmaker, I'm a someone. Any actress that I meet anywhere in the world who isn't a big actress, who's like trying to get into it, is going to want to talk to me. She's going to want to work with me. I've got status. Now, when I meet a girl like that, I don't have to be like, do you come here often, or who lies more, guys or girls? I don't have to. I've already qualified myself as a certain person, and that gives me that status, that employer. I can qualify her. I can talk about stuff I want to talk about, knowing she's going to want to talk about it, by just going to an area where I'm going to find actresses. Yeah, okay, I could sit in a mall and maybe I'll meet an actress. Or I could join a meetup group for actors and meet actresses. I could host one. I could do auditions on Craigslist. If I really wanted to meet an actress, there are so many ways that I could meet one. I could just hang out at theaters and meet people that work there and start building it up that way. Just so you guys know, most of the staff that work in theaters, the actual ones that take your tickets, are actors themselves. It's a way of doing jobs in between. Small little things like that I've built myself up. How about we forget that? About photography. I've realized that all the skills I was learning in filmmaking translate well into photography. So I bought professional photography equipment. I taught myself photography. And whenever I'm out and about, I take pictures of people. It's a fun thing I do. I actually get some of my students, and if they want like a Facebook picture, I'll often, if they're doing like a course with me, I'll take a picture of them in my house, and they can have like nice Facebook pictures and stuff. It's fun. I don't charge anything for it, but I do it. And every so often, when I meet girls that are cool, I take photo shoots of them for free. For a girl to get a free photo shoot that looks professional, it's great for them. But one day, if I wanted to pick up a model, I could go and talk to her. I could talk about photography, something a model would be interested in. Oh, and once again, I'm not just some schmo on the street. I've got status. Now, yeah, that doesn't mean she's going to want to have sex with me, but it does mean that I can qualify her. It does mean that rather than sort of like working my way up, I can just be like, oh, what kind of modeling have you done? Even better, when it comes to models, give you a bit of an inside thing. If you meet models, one of the best, the girl's like, what do you do for a living? I'm a model. Just look at it and go, you're not a MySpace model, are you? They're the worst. Most girls that think they're models aren't models. They've got a portfolio and they've taken shots themselves on MySpace. They've not actually done modeling. Anyone who knows anything about photography is aware of that. So you can say that straight to the girl, and about 80% of the girls you meet that are models in the street, those hot girls with portfolios, they're not really working. The minute you go like, not MySpace, right, like actual model, girl's gonna flip a shit. You've actually qualified her. You actually made a clear thing. Hey, you're not one of those ones, right? Because I don't like those ones. They're like wannabes. You're a real one? Now, if she is a MySpace model, she's going to start qualifying herself to you. She's going to be like, oh, no, I am, but I've got a deal. It's starting in 6 months. Total change. None of this, I'm a model, I'm hot. Instant change. Her attitude's going to change. She's going to look up to you because you called her out on it. But you didn't fake call her out on it. You actually called her out on it. You know what you're talking about. If she's a real model, she'll be like, oh, no, I hate those ones. And you've just hit on a conversational topic that she's okay with. The importance of building yourself up and having some status. So with qualification, we can actually use it to refine things down even further. There are so many guys. One of my friends, he's got this theory. He's like, you know what, Adam? No one has problems with girls. No one. I'm like, dude, I get like 20 students on each boot camp, man, that there are guys with problems with girls. He goes, no, they have motivation problems. What do you mean? He goes, there's just no hot girls around for them. That's what it is. He goes, you show any guy a hot girl. He goes, I'm sure he'll go for it. He goes, it's just all the hot ones are taken. He goes, there's just not enough hot girls. And that's his thinking. He's like, I'm convinced of it. And you know what? I get it. Like, I get that. I understand. That is how it works. The problem is with guys, we're so desperate to get a girl. And when you're learning game, you're so desperate to make it happen, you will lower your standards and talk to a girl that you don't really have anything in common with just because she's a little bit hot. Qualification changes that. When you meet a girl, decide those qualifiers, just like Davis said. Decide what you want. What do you want? What are you looking for? What are the key things that you want to happen? Pinpoint what your qualifications are, and then you talk to a girl, and then you throw them out there. Let's just say, for example, this guy here, he wanted a girl who's not negative, right? That was one of the things that he said, right? So let's use that. So I'm talking to a chick, and like literally within like 30 seconds of talking to her, I'm gonna look at her behavior. If she does anything negative, bam, fuck this bitch, I don't wanna talk to her. If she doesn't, I can be talking to her, I can use it as a qualifier. You know what drives me insane? Dude, I hate negative people. It's so funny like to be so opposed to negativity because like I hate it, but it's literally the only thing I don't like. I just can't stand people that are negative. Like I have to keep them away from me because I really try and live like a positive lifestyle. What do you think about that? You throw it out to the girl, see her response, see how she reacts. If she's a negative person, you don't want to date her. Forget about it. Don't worry about wasting your time on her. Move on. Find someone you do. If you hit a girl that thinks the same as you, you've just hit a conversation topic she wants to talk about. Because she thinks the same as you. She agrees with you. It's also her opinion. She's going to be able to talk about that subject for a while because the two of you have hit on something you can both talk about. I have a whole, it's actually a free product you can find if you hunt for it about negative attraction, about how to pick up girls that are really bitchy. And the whole concept of that is literally using this technique by pinpointing things that the other girl wants to talk about, and we make assumptions. We assume that a bitchy girl wants to be bitchy, so we're basically bitchy when we first start talking, and it's a very easy way of building it. And that's essentially what you're doing here. You're using your qualification to isolate people that not only are the kind of people that you want to get with, but every time you find a commonality, a connection between the two of you, you've also found a topic they want to talk about. So you've merged your whole game. Those of you that have an issue with, I don't know what to talk to girls about, it's not a problem anymore. You talk about the stuff you want to talk about. You pinpoint the qualifiers. You find the things you want to talk. And if a girl doesn't have those qualities, move on, find someone else. That's going to cut a lot of the effort you're putting in. You can shave out a whole bunch of people. And then when you do find someone that you hit a connection with, you can talk for ages. We get guys come on our boot camps and they're like, man, you know, my favorite thing to talk about in the world is tennis. I'm like, dude, when you talk to people, you should talk about tennis. You should find out, like, you want a girl that plays tennis? Yeah. Then talk to people about tennis. If the girl doesn't like tennis, don't be like, oh, I was talking about tennis, she didn't like it. I don't know what's wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with you. She doesn't like tennis. Forget her. Find a girl that likes tennis. Job done. You go in a venue, move around, talk to 20 chicks. You might find one that likes tennis. Where would be a better place to go to meet people that like tennis? So easy, right? Pick the habitat. Why are you trying to fish in the ocean? There's so many fish there, and if you're not equipped to get every single type, you're going to have to wait until your type comes along. And the ocean's big. How long before a salmon comes across the Pacific Ocean? It's a long time. Just go to the river. Go where they are. Your game's going to be faster. You're in a much smaller pool. Your efficiency is much better. And you know your qualifications are going to work. This is the power of qualification. It's essentially the ability to communicate with somebody subconsciously by thinking ahead of the game and shaping the conversations and the interactions and things you want. And we can shave off the ones that we don't want to talk to. Now, to finish this up, I'm going to take some questions after this, but just to finish up the talk, I'm going to show you a sample, a sped-up example of how qualification might work in an interaction. Now, you have to bear with me in this. I'm going to be cutting out a lot of the filler in between, okay? So I'm not going to have an actual conversation with myself. I'm going to speed up the whole thing and just use some of the qualifications I might use to set things up for a very specific situation. That situation I'm looking to build things up towards is a one-night stand. So I'm going to throw out some typical qualifications that I will use when I'm going to get a one-night stand. Now, I typically don't teach one-night stand stuff. I actually, if any of you want to learn it, I would refer you to friends of mine that I think specialize in it and are very good at it. I'm much more about the overall attraction process. I can teach it, just I know there are people that specialize in it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I do, how I'd go about doing it. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the venue and I'm going to start looking at the people that I think are going to be likely for a one-night stand. I'm looking for some key qualities here. The things that I'm looking for is a girl that's hanging out with her friends, but she's ignoring them. Rather than looking into the group, she's looking out. If you imagine 4 girls looking into each other, the one that's constantly looking at her shoulder out at all the men, that's the one that I'm looking for. Second thing, someone who's drinking a little bit too much, a little bit too early. Not because she's going to be drunk, but because she's looking for an excuse. She's looking for an excuse that can let her get away with the behavior she's about to do amongst her friends. If she's going to go home with some random person, then there's a very good chance that that girl has already decided that she's going to pretend she was drunk so she can class it as an excuse later on. I'm looking for a girl that's dancing earlier on in the night. At the beginning of the night, it takes a while for people to get going. If she's dancing, she's out looking for a party. In girl speak, I want to go out and dance means I want to go out and meet a guy and get laid. That's typically how that translates to. So these are the key things I'm looking for. Once I've found that, I'm going to open however I might go about it. Might do direct, might do indirect, whatever I feel like. But then I'm going to set up some key qualifications. It's going to go something like this. You know what I like about you? You're fun and friendly. I can tell that about you. You're really outgoing. And that's a really cool quality that I like. You're not just fun and friendly. You've got that fun and friendly, flirty vibe. You see what I did there? I escalated it. Fun and friendly, flirty vibe. You've got a little bit of an interaction where you're kind of like messing around. 1 minute you're being all cool, and then the next minute you're sort of like being a little bit sexy. That's a really cool look. I like that. In fact, I try to not hang around with people that can't flirt. You're one of those few people that can. I'll give you a 10 out of 10 for flirting. High five. Bam. Cement that in. Qualify it and reinforce it. If that's a behavior that I like, high five it to cement it. It's a positive feeling. Get them to keep working that way. At that point, I'm going to start talking. You know what's really funny about you? I can tell you've got that flirty vibe in like that cute, sexy way. You know, not just like normal cute, but cute, sexy. Normal cute's like a Care Bear or like My Little Pony. That's not really sexy. But you've got like that sexy vibe going on where sort of like, you know, oh, I'm really innocent, don't touch me. Let's have sex. I love that. That's a really cool look, and I think that's really cool about you. Bam. Setting things up, making it a little bit more sexual. Hey, you spontaneous? Yeah, I thought so. I could tell. Spontaneous fun. Spontaneous and fun. They're always a good combination. You know what I like to add into that? People who are adventurous. You often meet people that are spontaneous and fun, but they only do the same shit over and over again. It's spontaneous and fun. Let's go out and drink again. That's not fun. Adventurous is when you do something a bit different, right? Is that you? Spontaneous, fun, and adventurous? Wow, that's really cool. Hey, let's go grab a drink. She can't say no to that. Why? Bingo. So we're going to get a drink. We sit there. We're having a drink. We're talking about it. You know what's really funny? I met a girl like you a few weeks ago, and she was just like you. We got on really, really well. We actually ended up making out and having sex. Very powerful. I met a girl just like you earlier on. We made out and we had sex. That says I make out and have sex with people that are just like you. It's very important. We just seeded that in there. We'll throw that in later on. Again, this is more of that darker stuff that we'll get to later, actually in another talk. So at that point, but you know what was really funny about her? She was all cool and everything went really well, but I found out she was one of those pussy-whipped people, you know? Now, here's a funny one. That strikes contrast. Pussy whip to a girl? What the fuck does that mean? So she gets curious. Oh, what do you want about? Well, you know, she's one of those people that just does whatever her friends say. She's like a sheep. Friend says do this, she does it. Friend says do this, she does it. Those kind of people aren't cool. You're not one of those people, right? No, I do what I want to do. Bing. Now her friends can't take her away at the end of the night. At the end of the night, I'm trying to walk that girl home, get her to a taxi. Her friend's like, no, we're all going here. I can just look at her. And she went, I do what I want to do. Awesome, which is exactly what I want her to do. And that's exactly how the game should be played. So at that point, we build it up. We keep going. We go back to the friends. We party with the friends. Everyone's having fun. I'm like, you know what? Let's start doing that fun, adventurous stuff. Let's go out. You know what? There's a park just outside. There's a fence that we're not supposed to climb over, but late at night, I find one of the most fun things to do is to go there, climb over the fence, spend the night in the park. You coming? What are the chances of that girl saying no? Pretty fucking low. Guys, thank you ever so much. That's the power of qualification. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure. Okay, Before we go on, a couple of things. I know there's a bunch of guys with questions. There's one guy who had his hand up like the whole talk. He's probably got a tired arm. He's got loads of questions, so perfect. This guy's going to go around the microphone in a second, so all the guys have got questions. Couple of things very quickly before we do that. I've put a bunch of free videos out online. If you just go on Google and type in Adam Lyons Qualification, you'll find more examples, ones that weren't in this talk, of how to use this stuff. If it's interesting to you, just go and find it. You can just Google it, and you'll find it very easy, just Adam Lyons Qualification. I turned it into a product, and I've got like this big thing. I'm a big fan of not selling anything from stage. So what I've done is I've actually got 3 copies of it that I'm just going to give away for free. One of them is going to go to this guy here, because he came up on stage. So I've got one for you, dude, so don't worry about that. And there's 2 more that I'll give away to, if you think, when you're doing your questions, if you think that you can remember a time where you messed up because you didn't use qualification correctly, and you can give me a summarized version of that, and I think it's like one of the best stories, then I'll give a copy to you. So that's sort of like the criteria. Cool, so questions. A guy in the red shirt definitely had some questions, so if you want to start with him. At the very back, that guy. Perfect.
Yeah, my question was, when you're talking to a girl, you said you want to direct a conversation to something that she wants to talk about, so she'll talk about. But a lot of girls are into like a lot of gossip stuff, a lot of celebrity stuff, you know, Justin Bieber, whatever, that I really couldn't care less about. And to me, if I were to let her talk about that, I would get really bored and just kind of space off. But I still want to get into a topic that she wants to talk about that I also want to talk about. So how would you go about doing that rather than just going on to, you know, whatever she wants to do?
Beautiful, great question. So first, I'm actually going to answer your question in 2 parts. So the first part, I can just tell from looking at you, you don't have a problem getting into conversation with girls, right? Right. So this is the key thing to understand. Most people in pickup assume that what their problem is everyone's problem. People have like 2 tiers of problems. That first part, I was trying to make it clear, but I might not have. That first part was for beginners that can't get to where you get to in conversation. Those people, they need something. And for those guys, I would suggest reading up on celebrity gossip, learn that stuff, get down with it, be able to hold a conversation about it. For a guy like you, you're at the next phase. You have no problem with getting the conversation done. You've probably done that in the past. You've got through your shitloads of conversations to know the way women like to be spoken to. For you, moving it forward, it's all about going for sex. At that point, when you get into a conversation with a girl, everything you should be doing should be directing it towards sex. And the way I'd do that is I would set up my plan of how I'm going to get laid, and I'd use qualification to walk her through that plan. So I game in reverse. I don't think open, conversation closed. I think fuck location, how she's going to get there, how to isolate her from her friends, how to turn her on, and I go backwards. So at your point, you're probably, just from looking at you, you're starting the game about in the middle. You probably get opened a lot. When you do open, you're probably quite sexual. It probably goes quite good right away. So the minute all that happens, I would just know that I want to isolate her, know I need her friends to trust me, and all my qualifications would be based on that pattern. So I'd be like, all right, I need her to get rid of her friends, so at some point I'm going to have to drop in, hey, you know what's really funny? I met this chick the other day. She seemed like a really cool chick, and then I found out that like her mum was in the group. I don't mean like literally her mum, but she just did whatever this other girl said. She was like a sheep, man. I hate sheep girl. You're not a sheep girl, are you? So bam, so we can use that. And she said, no, I know what I want to do. Good. And then you build up that pattern. And that is how, to help you, that's the kind of thing you want to be doing. But for those of you guys that can't get into that, then yeah, learn about Justin Bieber. Have an opinion about Justin Bieber. Why not? Well, listen, he's got a good song. There's like one song Justin Bieber sings, it's okay. I thought it was a girl that sang it for a long time, and I found it was actually Justin Bieber, but whatever. It's not a bad song. It's like baby, 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 or whatever. It's fine. I don't know any other song he sings, but whatever. But it's funny, even though I don't like Justin Bieber that much, like I don't hate on him, but I'm not a fan either, I can hold a conversation down. If I meet a girl and I was like, hey, what's your favorite thing to talk about? Oh my God, Justin Bieber, he's the best. I say, this is so fascinating. Everyone else I've ever met wants to kill him. Why is he so cool? And it will give me an ability to have a conversation. And honestly, if she's that thick, I'll have fun with it. Like, I'm really capable of having a conversation with a chick who's really quite dense and just be making myself laugh constantly. So I'm like, awesome, because isn't Justin Bieber a girl? I thought it was like Justine. Is that not how it is? She said, no, he's a boy, everyone gets this wrong. And I just start me laughing at how funny this is, and I'll self-amuse myself. So for you guys that are learning to get that conversation, it's the way to do it. But for someone who's advanced like you do, I just qualify to sexual and make it happen. Cool, next question, this guy here.
Hey, so just listening to what you're saying, that I feel like it I don't know, it makes a lot of sense to me because I've gotten to the point where I can open pretty well and like, it's actually like in places where like it's clear that it's okay to go sexual, like in strip clubs, I actually do better. But like in bars, that kind of like, sort of the qualification, the sexual qualification, I feel like I get stuck on.
Yeah.
You know, like the other, I don't know, it was like a week or two ago, there was this girl who was sitting, you know, at the front of Qua in you know.
I know it very well. It's got cool sharks.
Yeah. They got rid of all the sharks. The city made them take all the sharks out.
Oh my God, it's like the worst thing ever. Sharks are awesome.
Somebody complained.
It's a nightclub with sharks in the dance floor, for anyone that doesn't know. It's like my favorite nightclub because of that, and now the sharks are gone.
Yeah, no, but she was like sitting there smoking a cigarette and just, you know, really, really cute girl, about 21. And I went up and you know, she was just kind of like looking kind of a little sad. And I sat down and I started talking to her. And like we got in this really good conversation and stuff like that. But I think, you know, I didn't.
You didn't have your exit plan.
Qualify enough because when I tried to, I mean, we arranged to meet like the next day and she finked out basically and like, you know, she was like a waitress at a strip club, so maybe she's a little.
To give you an idea,
whatever,
here's
but,
how you plan it. If you want to make sure a girl turns up, now there's so many ways of dealing with flakes, like that's a whole other thing. But you can use qualification for everything. But if you want to use it for flakes, you could be talking to her and be like, hey, you seem like a really cool chick, but I'll be honest, every stripper that I've ever had sex with, they're always flaky. Like, they're like, let's have sex. And then you have sex, and then they're gone for a week, and they come back, and I feel like they're just using me for my body. You're not a flaky person, right? If you say you're going to be somewhere, you actually go there, right? And when she said yes, you've got a bit more cemented. Now, it's no guarantee, but let's say you've increased the chance of her doing it by 10%. And that's what you're looking at doing. So that's another way you can use qualification to help out in that area. You get so used to this. If you watch back to every seminar I've ever given, you'll hear qualification through the whole thing. Like I said, if you can't hear it, it's because you're not looking deep enough. I almost only speak in qualification. Like, you ever hear somebody be like, dude, I got this joke. It's really funny. Okay, here's how it goes. It's really funny. Why are you telling me it's funny before you've told me the joke? You're qualifying it. You're making it clear that I want you to laugh at the end of this joke. You guys with it? You'll hear this all the time. People use it everywhere. So listen to those qualifications, learn them, and then learn how to use them yourself. Throw it into your own language. It's a very powerful way of controlling situations around you. Like I said, that's the first step into that dark game. It's the nicest step. If you're going to do it, I'll tell you why it's the nicest, because people do this shit all the time. Anyone thinks they don't do it, they're lying to you. And that in itself is a qualification. No, I never do that. You're a liar, and you're trying to do it right now. You're trying to convince me you never lie, or you never manipulate anybody. Like, as people in the audience I know, but like, Jewish moms are really good at this. Like, Jew guilt, bam, they hit you with it. So get used to using it consciously and use it, with care, I suppose. Cool, next question. Next question from somebody. I love teaching so well. Everyone's like, nope, understand it, perfect, I'm good, everything's great. No more questions? Any questions about anything? Anyone got a story about where they wish they'd use qualification? Go for it. This guy here with the yellow and blue stripey.
Hi, I really enjoyed that.
Thank you.
My name's Melvin, by the way.
Melvin, nice to meet you.
So,
I need to say, what I love was you were like, hi, I really enjoyed that. And I was like, wow, that's like almost sex. Okay, go. Keep it.
I know. I've practiced, but
It's
anyway.
good.
Long time ago, I met this girl.
In a galaxy. Yep.
Yes. Met this girl, and thing was, she told me she was crazy, and
She qualified you. Dude,
know.
hey, just so you know, I'm crazy.
She told me she was crazy, but it was during the time that I had a thing for damaged goods in a way, you could say, because I wanted to save her, I guess.
Yeah.
So I got in a relationship with her, and it was just the most. I'm trying to figure out a way to just shorten it all. Pretty much after it all just ended, like 2 days after Valentine's Day, like she just could not handle just like affection in any way, shape, or form. Mm-hmm. So after that, for the longest time, I was just completely miserable, depressed all about it, and I could not be affectionate with the women for at least a year and a half after that. And I thought because being affectionate was wrong, didn't work in that relationship, but eventually, after finally breaking out through that, I just figured out, no. I should have just realized her telling me she was crazy. She was crazy.
Here's how you could use qualification for that, just to give you an idea. Girls like, hey, just so you know I'm crazy, you instantly say, awesome. Just so you know, anytime I meet a crazy chick, I dump her the minute she starts acting crazy. So you instantly throw it back at her. So you set the standard right at the beginning. Hey, you're crazy, all right, but you need to know anyone that acts crazy around me gets dumped. So you set that boundary right as well. And like, that's a very big part of qualification, is using it to control relationships to go the way you want. In fact, qualification in relationships is incredibly important. Cool. Go for it. Yeah, oh yeah, you need to wait for your microphone. Hey, Amanda, could you bring me the DVDs? I'll give them out from here. Go for it.
I was just wondering, do you use, is there any way that you use this to control your own behavior?
Constantly.
Okay.
I qualify myself. Okay, so, awesome question, by the way. First of all, I constantly keep myself in check. So I am very conscious of when I'm using qualification on other people to make sure I don't alter their behavior too badly. You're always going to be altering behavior. I try very hard not to. So the best example is with my wife. Obviously, we're in a relationship, and I'm very knowledgeable about qualification and all that kind of stuff. So what happens is, so Amanda will be like, what are we going to do today? So instantly, my head's like, this is what I want to do. This is how to qualify her to do it. That's the first thing that happens from years of game. But I have to remember this is a relationship. She gets a choice. So instead, I'm like, well, you know what? You said the other day that you wanted to do this, 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 and this. Out of those things, which would you like to do? And I try and suggest stuff that she wants to do rather than taking it the way that I want to go. And that's a very conscious thing. I have to stop my gut instinct and instead try and create a new thing. And I also have to be careful not to go, oh no, what do you want to do? Because that's like a typical relationship mistake. And I still do it every so often, but like, you really try not to be the, I don't know, what do you want to do? Which is the default rather than trying to lead it to always doing what you want to do. So I consciously do that. Also, I have to forgive people. Because people do this all the time, people try and manipulate you. And there'll be situations where like one of my really good friends will do a really lame qualification on me to manipulate me to do something. And he'll be like, dude, sorry I'm 20 minutes late, man. It's been horrible. I had to get the bus today, bro. I am so out of cash. Like, it was horrible, man. Like, normally I just drive it, but my car's in the shop. I've got no money. And you know that thing we wanted to do tonight? I don't even know if I'm going to be able to go unless somebody lends me like $40, man. Like, it's tough. And I'm just like, qualify. Like, I see all of it. And then he's like, yeah, it's tough. And I would much rather he just came up to me. Personally, I'd rather he came up to me, hey, Adam, listen, man. My car's in the thing. I'm out of cash. Can you lend me $40 for a month? I'd rather than preloaded it with the qualification because I know what's coming. But and that annoys me. Like, as a personal thing, I get really annoyed by it. Especially when someone like my dad does it to me. And like, my dad will build one up for a year. Like, and I'm like, I know what you're going to ask me. You want an iPad. Like, I know where this is going. Like, I know that's what you want. And so I just like, and so the minute my dad starts it, I'm just like, I'm giving you my old one. Wait, I get the new one, you get the old one. Like, I line it up. I know he's doing it. But it does. It gets to you inside because you see it happening. But you have to remember, most people do it subconsciously. They're not aware they're manipulating you and they're doing it. My personal worst is where someone says they don't do it and they are doing it. That annoys me more than anything. And then when they get up on their high horse, they're like, you manipulate. I would never manipulate. Isn't that right, everybody? See how everyone agrees with me speaking loudly and building social proof and pre-selection? Everyone agrees with me that you manipulate and that's wrong. And I'm like, you're manipulating right now. Like, I can see it. Like, I'm aware of what you're doing. You think you're not doing it, which is even funnier. They're the situations that drive me insane the most. But again, I have to keep myself in check. If I argued back like that, everyone would think I was insane. So instead, you have to bite and keep going. So cool, good question. Last question. That's it. This guy, and then I know you. I'll talk to you afterwards. This guy. Microphone's coming.
Hi, my name is Max. And
Max.
And I was wondering what you do how do you handle people who are qualifying you or manipulating you?
It's a good question. Most of the time, okay, very good question. I make a decision before I go into a situation, what I want the outcome to be, and then I try and make sure that is where I lead things. Unless I've made a decision that I don't want to control it, at which point I go into it, and I'm going to allow the other person to manipulate. But I got a situation, one of my friends, he's hanging out with this chick, and she's like, he comes up to me and he goes, do you think it's wrong of me if I manipulate my girl to work in Dallas because she'll make more money? Now, this guy lives in Austin. He's really comfortable in Austin. He's really happy. He doesn't like change. And he's asking me if I think it's okay for him to manipulate his girl to work in Dallas. And I'm thinking, none of that sounds right. He doesn't like Dallas. Why is he? So I'm like, did she tell you she'll make more money if she works in Dallas? He's like, yeah. And I was thinking, I should get her to work there to make more money. I was like, has she told you that she really likes Dallas and she's got friends there? He goes, yeah, well, that's part of the charm. She's got friends there, so I think I can make her do it. I'm like, I don't know how to break it to you, dude. I was like, you're being manipulated. And he's like, really? Like, yeah, she's trying to make you think this is your idea, dude. Like, even to the point that she's making you think you're manipulating her. You're the victim in this. And he's like, yeah, because I don't like Dallas. I'm like, I know you don't like Dallas. I was like, you're being manipulated. That's what she wants. That's not what you want. I was like, and he's like, I didn't think about it like that. But, you know, that's what happens in relationships, especially girls. Girls tend to be a lot stronger and better at doing it than guys. So I just try and keep aware constantly, and I let it happen. Like, I know when we were talking about this the other day. We're at dinner last night, and I told Amanda, because my talk's all about manipulation and qualification, and I was like, she's like, so are you aware of it all the time? I'm like, yeah. I was like, I'm really aware of it when you do it to me. And Amanda's like, I don't manipulate you. I was like, you did it just there. And she's like, okay. She goes, the next time I manipulate you, tell me when. Within about 45 seconds, she tried again, and I didn't say anything. I just looked at her and went, and she went, I just did it, didn't I? I was like, yeah. And she goes, because I did that, because I wanted this. I was like, yeah. And she went, I do it a lot. I'm like, yeah. But I let it because she's my wife. I'm like, you can manipulate me, but I need to be aware of it. As long as I'm aware, it's okay. I let people manipulate me all the time because I'm aware of it. And that's that thing about playing ahead. Because by me letting people manipulate me, they don't realize when it hits. And then at that point, at the point that I want to manipulate, I'm that much further ahead of the game, or at least I try to be. And that's really kind of like how you want to play qualification. So cool. Guys, that's about it for me. So these are the discs. There's only 3 here. There's 2 parts. Okay, so we're going to get the other half afterwards. So what we're going to do, dude in the green, you had a great one. Do you want to come up and just grab this? That's for you. Get the second half in a second. And Dave, one of these is for you. And then the last one is going to be for the guy with the sexy voice for you. So awesome, dude. Thank you very much. Guys, round of applause for these guys. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being here. You're awesome. Love you all. Thank you.